Greetings, this is Oliver from Sporting Cube, and today I'm going to show you how to become self-15 with the Roux method. Before we start the video, I want to give a shout out to Mika for giving us the idea for this video. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting with first block, during inspection, you want to be able to plan out your first square. If you can, plan the whole first block. While you're solving the first square, track the second pair. This will limit the number of pauses you have during your first block. Next, in harder cases, you should use mismatching centers. If you do not know what that is, click on the video in the top right corner. Third, limit the number of M moves you do. This applies to second block as well. You should limit the M moves because M moves are slower than R wide and R moves. For the fourth tip for first block, you want to lower your move count. Your move count should be pretty low, probably around 8 to 11 moves. Add more moves if the finger tricks are bad. Moving on to second block, learn more efficient ways to do cases. Here are some cases that a lot of people do inefficiently. So we have the first block done, and we're trying to solve the second block pair that goes right here. So the pieces are right here and right here. And people do something like this. Do that to be in the loading spot. M2 to pair it up, then insert. However, there's a more efficient solution that goes like this. So in this case, we're trying to solve the pair in the back here. And our pieces are right here and right there. And what people do is something like this. So they do that. Bring it to the loading spot. Like this. Pair it up. Move out of the way. Then insert. A more efficient way is just do this. So you're doing R prime, U2, R, and that brings up the pair. And then you can just insert it. So in this case, we're trying to solve the pair that goes right here. And pieces are right here and right there. And what people do is something like this. So they do that to put the edge right here. Move this over. Do this to flip the corner. Move it over, pair it up. Move this over so you can restore this, then insert. However, there's a much more efficient way to do this, and it just goes like this. So I do an R wide, U2, R wide prime. And then you can just insert this pair like this. So here's another case that people do inefficiently. So in this case, we're trying to solve the pair that goes right here, and the pieces are right here, they're stacked together. And however, it's not correctly paired. And people do something like this, like triple sexy, or triple inverse sexy. However, that in Roux there's a more efficient way. So what we do is we do a U2 to put this pair in the back, a corner in the back, and then we do an R wide, U, R wide prime. And that sets up for a easy insert here. This. During your second block, don't turn really fast. That way you can focus on having fluid turning with very little pauses. If you turn really fast, then it will be very hard to track pieces. You do not need to have no pauses at all. Maybe try to not pause more than 1 or 2 times. As you are finishing your first block, track the DR edge. While you're solving the DR edge, track your next pair. While you solve your next pair, track your last pair. That way, you won't have a big pause in between pairs. Try to minimize regrips. Here are some cases where people regrip a lot. So here's one case where a lot of people regrip. So it's just a 3-move insert to solve this pair. And what they do is they're in this position, and then they regrip their hand, and then do the insert like that. However, it is better just start in this position and either do a R with like that, U with push that, R prime like that, or you could just do pinch here, move it over like that, and bring it down. So in this case, we're trying to solve this pair into the back, and what people do is that they regrip their hand, then they insert it. However, it's better to just not regrip, do that, push, U move, and bring it back down. Or you could just also do this, finger drag like that, do that. For CMLL, you do not need to learn full CMLL. 2-look CMLL works fine. For those who don't know 2-look, I will link our tutorial in the description. However, if you want to, you can learn full CMLL as you won't have to spend time learning it later, and it helps in the long run. For full CMLL solvers, learn to recognize cases from all angles. I will link a video by Keon Mansour that shows you how to do it in the description. Next, you want to learn good algs. The algs in our 2-look CMLL tutorial are the best, and Keon's algs for full CMLL are the best. I will link Keon's alg sheet in the description. For all your algs, use good finger tricks and try to use as little regrips as possible. To do this, you can watch videos by people like Keon or Critical Cubing. Find how algs differ from other cases. For example, if you know the soon cases, the anti-soon cases would be the inverse or are very easy to learn. Next, break up each algorithm into triggers or easy to remember sequences of moves. This makes it easier to learn the alg. Here are some common triggers. So some common triggers are sexy move, which goes like this. R, U, R prime, U prime. That very fast goes like this. And also the inverse of that, which is U, R, U prime, R prime. And that. Another one is a sledgehammer, which goes like this. R prime, F, R, F prime. This. And also there's something called hitch slammer, which is just the reverse of sledgehammer. So it goes like this, F, R prime, F prime, R. And also there's this, so R, U, R prime, like that. And there's also the same thing there, but on wide moves, so R wide, U, R wide prime. And there's also like R prime, U2, R. And that can also be in the other hand as well. So here's another trigger. So it's basically sledgehammer, but the first R move is an R2. And Tingman, he calls this a long sledgehammer. So like this. There's also this. So you do an R, U prime, R prime. And here you do an R wide, U prime, R wide prime. So here's another trigger. You do an R wide prime, U prime, R wide. And here is another one. So you do an R prime, U, R. Finally, we will talk about last 6 edges. Learn all the cases to get the arrow and EO and the UL-UR edges. Doing this can reduce the time it takes to solve EO as well as UL-UR. During EO, you might get a case where all 6 edges are flipped. If you get it, use this algorithm to solve it. So the 6 flip algorithm goes like this. R, U prime, R y prime, U prime, M prime, U, R wide, U, R y prime. And done very fast, it goes like this. Third, drag your UL-UR edges during EO. If you do this, you won't have to pause to find your UL-UR edges, and you can just go right into it. Next, don't waste moves. Every move should have a purpose. This reduces the time it takes to solve LSE. Lastly, you don't need to turn very fast. You want to do a speed where you don't have a lot of pauses. This makes your solve very fluid and smooth. So now I'm going to do a solve that implements all of these tips and try to get sub 15. So here I'm going to be doing 2 solves that implements all the tips that were shown in the video. One will be with 1-look CMLL and the other one will be with 2-look CMLL. So let's get started. So that was with the 1 look stimulum, and now I'm going to do the 2 look one. That is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to slap that like button. Also subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when we upload. And if you're able to cut sub 15 or have any questions, be sure to tell us in the comment section below. See ya!